Okay, so it was August of 2005 that my divorce had become finalized, and I was working full time, and I unconsciously just didn't care anymore. I didn't act outwardly depressed. Unlike most people, I didn't shut myself in. Um, my ex-wife had moved out. She moved in with a friend that she worked with, and so I was by myself in the house that um, we had been in together still. One, because it was cheap. I mean, it was a studio house, and my rent was only $275 a month. So why was I going to leave that? I mean, I had we got a new car um, right before I found out that mm, about the internet affair thing and stuff. So I kept that because she didn't have a driver's license. So I was making car payment, car insurance, and but I didn't care. I didn't care about anything. I surrounded myself with people. I The people that I knew. I like to go. I used to like to go out and just sit at Denny's and drink coffee. And, be around my friends, and I uh, I did that. But I mean, on my days off, I would be there like all the time. I knew the morning shift, the swing shift, and the graveyard shift by the end of that year, and I started gambling really heavily. I live in Vegas, so that was readily available entertainment for me, and and it got to the point of where I started. I would get my paycheck, walk into the casino, whichever one I liked at the time, and I would leave when I was broke. And so I wouldn't have any money for 2 weeks, and I'd have to struggle. I'd have to do creative things, hawk things that I liked. I sold my wedding ring so I could gamble. I Just a series of. I did this till the point. Um, did it to the point that I was in such a financial bind that I couldn't do anything. Um, yeah, I could go to Denny's because the waitresses knew me. They'd give me free coffee, and half the time I could get free meals. But and I worked as a line cook, so I mean every day that I worked, I got to eat in the employee dining room because I worked at one of the hotels. So that part of my life was never in danger, but I just financially I didn't have the extra money to go out, and so I started reading again, something that I hadn't done in a long time, and I actually first I started off. I read the Lord of the Rings trilogy, something that I hadn't read in a long time, and I wanted to, and so I got that, and I read that through, and it was at that time when I was sitting there reading, that I decided that I needed to really look at my life. I needed to answer those questions that I had left blank when I rejected God, and any God, for that matter, any supreme being, anything out there that's supernatural in that form. I just left those questions blank. I didn't answer them. I mean, they were blank. And so there were blank spots in my life, and so I started looking at myself, really critically looking at myself for the first time ever in my entire life. And I started writing my thoughts down in the form of poems. You know, my perceptions and how I felt and stuff, and I started writing poetry off and on. Also, it's something I'd done earlier in life a little bit, but it had always normally been under, well, it had always been under circumstances where I'd been hurt. I had a couple lively poems, but other than that, I'd maybe written a little over 25 in the 10 years before this happened. So wasn't a poet by any means, I guess, except to myself. And but I started writing down these things that were in my head, because that's how I always wrote my poetry. I mean, I didn't sit down and write poetry. It would be a thought or a concept or the actual poem, and it would be just swirling there in my mind saying, write me. And so I would, when this would happen. And then I read The Fountainhead by Ayn Rand. I knew about her work. I'd read Anthem when I did a bit of community college, and I had read a book by Leonard Peikoff, one of her closest friends, who had I read parts. I didn't read all of it, but parts of her philosophy of objectivism, and the stuff. And I had always wanted to read her novels, and so I got her novels, and I read those, and there were things that I found in her novels, because her philosophy is a big part of the hero characters of her novels, the main characters, the characters, that we're rooting for. Her philosophy is what these people live by, and I identified with that to the degree that that's how I wanted to live my life. But I still had to answer the questions of who I was, and my purpose. What makes me happy, what's important to me.